Welcome to the Dare to Share Challenge. I'm so happy to have you back with us. And if you're new here, welcome along to the tribe. This is the place where we get real, we get raw, and we get downright vulnerable. We've got another amazing guest waiting in the wings, getting ready to come onto the stage and dare to share. Dare to share what? Who knows, firstly, but her truth, her story, and most importantly, her vulnerability. Why? So that you see the human behind the perception. So that you realize all of these people that you look up to, behind the scenes, they're really not that different to you or I. We're all here navigating, experiencing, feeling the same things. It's just that most of us don't share it until we get to the other side. Until now. So with that being said, let's welcome her on, Miss Jaime O'Connor. Hello.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. It's been so fun to watch you share all these incredible journeys.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you with us. It feels like a long time coming because we booked you in quite a few weeks ago.
No, I know we did. Yeah. A lot has changed even since I was like, yes, let's do it. So
I love that. And before we dive in, Jaime, I always like to ask, what brings you onto this show? You know, like what made you want to be a part of the Dare to Share Challenge? Because it's not like a typical podcast where you can just go on and, you know, just kind of speak your normal story. This is a little bit more stretchy than that. And it's not, you know, it's not the most comfortable of places to be. So I'm always really intrigued as to what brings the incredible guests on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of directions I could go with that. In a lot of ways, I'm comfortable in the uncomfortable. I've kind of been that way my whole life.
Are you a Scorpio?
No, I actually have no Scorpio in my chart, which is also kind of interesting, but except my South Node. So, you know, I guess that I came from there. No, I loved the idea when you told me about it. I was like, oh, yes, especially because of the place that I'm in right now. And I've spent 3 years, longer than that probably, but like 3 significant years really like shedding and removing masks. And I'm in like a depth of that, a new level of depth of that right now. One I didn't even realize I was at the level of or going to embark upon when I first agreed with you. So I probably would have been a yes no matter what. I think it's really good timing. It's an opportunity for me to probably share in a way that, you know, I have a tendency to come on to podcasts, on my own podcast, on lives with like a bubbly, easy to talk to mask on. I think I hold that presence, but there's more depth there with like where my life is right now and probably where it's always been. So
oh my God. Well, I'm just sat here like, okay, let's just go right now. I want to hear what you're going to say. I love the synchronicity this show seems to bring. It's like every guest that comes on, it's just always divine timing. It's always like, this is just the right time. Like they didn't know that when they necessarily booked on, but it's like, now you're here. It's like, okay, this all makes complete sense. Let's press the record button. I love that. Okay, so for you guys watching, I am going to ask Jaime 2, on the surface, very simple questions. But the whole point of the Dare to Share Challenge is that the leaders and the guests, the speakers who come onto this show and they put themselves out there for all to see, right? No one has to do this, but they sign up for this. They want to go first. They want to lead by example. The whole point is that they stretch their own level of comfortability. They go a little bit more vulnerable than they would normally go. Like Jaime said, it's about having a space and a place where you can actually show up in a deeper way than you normally would, because the online space doesn't always make for that. It's not what we're used to. It's not what we're told is normal in how we should show up as leaders. And that's what the Dare to Share Challenge is all about. It's about challenging that status quo and saying, you know what? We're all here feeling and going through the same things. And it's about time we started sharing that. So, Jaime, I think I already know the answer to this, but we do need to clarify for the viewers which level of vulnerability you're going to be sharing with us today. So we have the stretchy level, which is it's your hero's journey, right? It's your story, it's your trials, your tribulations, your mountains, your hurdles, the things that you've overcome. You've come out of the other side, you've learned the lessons, and they're powerful lessons, and they are important and needed to help others. But you're past that now. Or we have the extreme level, which is something that you're navigating, experiencing, growing through right now in real time. Neither is a get out clause, but we need to know which way we're going to go. So, Jamie, where do you want to take us today?
Definitely extreme. If I'm actually pushing myself, I've become an expert at telling the hero's journey. I have many that I tell. And so, yeah, I am showing up to really show up for sure.
I love that. I love that. And this is what this is all about. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's dive in. So, question number one. I always feel like I'm on a game show when I say that. Okay, question number one is, what does being a real and a raw leader mean to you, Jamie? And we're not just talking about in business here, okay? We're talking about the individual, the human, the woman, the person in your own right who is living a daily life, right? Doing normal daily things behind the scenes. But that realness and that rawness, what does that look like? What does that mean to you as you're going about day-to-day things like we all are?
Yeah. You know, my answer today is so different than it would have been, honestly, 3 months ago or 6 months ago. Definitely 4 years ago, because it changed completely when I became a mother. And the realities of life are just different. The priorities of life are just different. And I have so many days where just making it to the end of the day is like a celebration. And to me, I don't actually think leaders necessarily should be going out and being like, oh my God, this is all the horrible things that I'm going through out in the world. Because there's a difference between holding that and being with what is real and being able to share that in a way that isn't passing off the energy to somebody else. And that to me is true leadership, is being able to not hide that life isn't rainbows and unicorns all the time, or sometimes for long periods of time, while also not passing that energy off to somebody else or to social media or the world. It's sharing it vulnerably while holding it in your own sovereign power.
Yes, that is so powerful and so potent right there. That is literally like the epitome of real and raw leadership, because it's about showing how you lead yourself. It's about saying, look, I'm just figuring it out as I go, just like you are, but this is how I'm working through it. This is how I'm leading myself through it. I absolutely love that so much. So, so powerful. And that leads us right into the big question. So for you guys watching, I always like to just set the scene here and let you know that I never know what any of the guests are going to share. I don't give them any guidance. I don't tell them what they can say, what they can't say. Nothing is off of the table. The only thing I ask of them is that they stretch their vulnerability so that they go first, they lead the way, and they show you they're human. So with that being said, Jamie, I'm very excited actually to hear what you're going to say. What are you willing to dare to share with us all today?
Yeah.
I'm like getting my pen ready.
Well, I mean, so in light of what I just said, I think like taking a moment to really center is important, because I think the energy with which we share our stories, even when we're in the midst of them, like I said, is really important. And in so many ways, I am on the other side of the things that I want to share, and I'm also right in the middle of them. because I'm certainly in the middle of a massive transition that has more unknowns and more uncertainty than I've ever known before. And I am one who jumps off cliffs. Like I am no stranger to taking a massive leap of faith. So what's interesting is that I'm in the most joyful place of surrender that I've ever been, but I'm in a very deep place of surrender. So there's a lot, I feel like, that feels edgy for me to share. So this is, okay, this is definitely like, so something that almost literally, I don't think anyone knows except for maybe one or two of my mentors, is that I have not actually had a client on board paying me since February. This is the first time in my entrepreneurship career I have not made money every single month, and often to the tune of well over 6 figures in a month. Now, I've actually never been someone who like talks, I don't talk a huge game of like making massive dollar months. It's not my thing, and I don't really care about that. But I've also never had a business that was successful. I've had totally failures of businesses running at the same time of successful businesses, but I've never had a business that didn't make 10K a month. So it's been a wild ride for me for 5 months. Now, I am fortunate, very fortunate. I've done very well. My family is fine. Like, we have a good savings. We are okay, but it's scary. Like, my husband's in real estate. That money sometimes can be beautiful and amazing and big, and sometimes there's long stretches of nothing. So we've been in this like what felt like a free fall now for 4 or 5 months. And I've been in business for 20 years. I have tried and true methods. Like, nothing has worked. I mean, for me to tell you, like, nothing has worked. And I had a moment, like, oh God, okay, so it was probably July 18th-ish, maybe a little bit before that, like the day before the 17th. And I was at the end. I was like, everything's going to fall. I saw my brain doing the things that I've done so much inner deep work to integrate and become whole with. And luckily, I've done a lot of deep inner work, so I can be a bit meta. Like, I can see myself behave, like, doing those things, but I'm still in it, right? Like, I'm like, life's going to fall apart. We're not going to have any money for rent. We're going to go through, like, I've done the numbers. I know our runway, like, things are not good, right? I'm just like, oh my God. And catastrophizing. So I know what to do, right? Like, I've already, by the way, at this point, me and my husband have already been like meditating twice a day. We're like doing the thing. We're like, okay, we're going to get out of this. Like, we know what to do. And I pull out my phone and I reach out to a mentor. And here's the thing at this point is that, like, I've been in this long enough, like this period of time long enough. And I've been in business long enough. I knew the last thing I needed was a strategy. Okay. Like, I had gotten on one call with somebody, and I knew before I even got on the call and the BS that he gave me, I was like, oh. Like, thanks for your funnel strategy. I'm good. Yeah. That's not what I need. So the mentor I reach out to is a man who keeps himself in obscurity. This is a man who's been responsible for billions with the B of sales. But he is the wisest teacher I've ever met, like a Zen master kind of. So I reach out to him and I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. And I get on the phone with him, and he says to me, after a lot of conversation, he's like a father to me. you go through my Instagram, you can probably figure out who he is from some posts like a little while back. And after a beautiful conversation, he says, I'm going to tell you what you need to do, but you're not going to want to hear the word I have to say. And he said, you need to surrender. Like, completely turn it over. That's what you're being asked to do. Like, you are being asked to turn everything over. And like, I have controlled my destiny for 20 years. I have been the rebel. I've zigged when everyone zagged. And in a way, this is kind of that too. And as if we'd off the phone, like, he says this to me. I'm going to roll back a sec. He says this to me, surrender. And it was like my entire being knew it was true.
Yeah.
Just knew that the greatness that I have within me is nothing to do with achievement. It has nothing to do with what I create or sell. It has nothing to do with the next offer. And it's time for me to actually lean into learning that lesson. And I wanted to fucking throw up. I was like, damn it, okay. So as if the universe wanted to just like really put the nail in the coffin, the next day I have a doctor's appointment. And I, at the time, was 10 weeks pregnant. And my second pregnancy this year, I have an 18-month-old, by the way, that was not planned and not really wanted, to be totally honest. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was ready to get back to my life. And postpartum, that's a whole other journey I could talk about. So we go in, I've wrapped my head around this, having 3 kids, we're going to do this, it's going to be amazing, even though our financial life is totally falling apart. It's okay, we're fine, we're going to have 3 kids, it's going to be awesome. We go in and we find out that the sac was there, but the embryo never formed. Which, to be totally honest, it was the second miscarriage I'd had in this year, both of them, like I said, not planned. It was a huge relief. Like, it was a huge relief. I didn't really feel a lot of pain from it. I was like, okay, we're good. However, we decided we needed to induce because we were leaving where we live to come to New York for 2 months. And my doctor ended up overdosing me on the medicine to induce the sac, which resulted in me bleeding out and having a seizure. And this experience, like, brought everything home. It was as if everything came into picture the way it was supposed to. Something wild that I think I will never forget. There's multiple lessons from that little experience. One, I questioned the doctor about taking the 3rd dose. My intuition told me, like, I knew it was not right. And I had put her in a place of authority because of her position. And I listened to her and not my intuition. Like, I knew my body was complete. I knew it. And I put that aside. And so this is a lesson that has been being driven home for me for a very long time. It's like embodied. Yeah. It's embodied. Like, intuition above all else. Trust but verify with your intuition, right? So after the incident, I did research. And I found you can find all kinds of medical articles and stuff very easily, that she had indeed overprescribed. In that situation, the trust my intuition and verify that my intuition is true instead of trust the doctor. And I'm not somebody who's like anti-Western medicine. However, I believe fully that like sovereign power is deeply rooted in your intuition, and our society doesn't support that as the most important piece. Yeah. So that was a massive, massive lesson. I handled the situation with my doctor with a grace I did not know I had. And this to me is another like piece of sovereign power that was so deep. Because she was not malicious. She was not actually trying, like she was not somebody who was checked out. She cares deeply. I believe in her humanity, and that she delivered a preemie in the morning and her head was probably not in the best space, and maybe she could have made different choices in showing up to the appointment, but it doesn't matter. And so giving her the grace of, I believe she's a really good doctor, and also choosing to share with her the information I'd found so that in the future she can be even more thoughtful about how she is prescribing for her patients. And the amount of like emanating love that I felt from making that choice, and what I received back from her because of like the amount of guilt that lifted up from that. I mean, so grace and the ability to hold grace in all these situations, which goes into business, which goes into life, which goes into everything else. And how often it could have been so easy for me to like immediately go into blame.
Oh, yeah.
But my recovery, I mean, literally by the time I got to the hospital, not by the time I got to the hospital, but between them taking my first round of blood and like the tests, my blood levels got back to normal so much they didn't have to do a transfusion. Now, I attribute that to these factors I've talked about, and also because I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of like connecting to my body. I do a lot of those kinds of things. So whatever the reasons were, it doesn't matter. And being able to take a step back and recognize that like there's so much deeper meaning and love in what we can like come into presence with if we actually focus on like our own being instead of constantly looking at what we're putting out into the world as representation of us. Like what this whole situation solidified and what my mentor had started the day before. And I think in a way I was coming into being with is that so much of the time we have this fear of not reaching like our potential. As leaders, we feel this like, I know I'm made for more. Like, I know I have so much to give. And what came to me after this whole experience was that maybe that fear of not reaching our full potential is actually hiding this deeper soul desire to know what our soul's potential is, to know who we are by just being who we are and emanating that from like the inside out. And there's actually this really great quote I wrote down. I am doing the Pearl sequence in the Gene Keys. I've been contemplating my Gene Keys for 4 years now, and I spent 2 years in the Venus sequence. And this also whole thing has made me realize like I'm ready to move into the next phase. And so I'm listening to some of the things that are in that. And one of the quotes that came out just, I think, epitomizes this idea. And it said, it's the achieving mind that wants to get it right, that wants to be better, wants to get to be of service. And the greatest service is to allow the fullness of your being to be absorbed back into your essential qualities.
So powerful.
And so now to like bring it back full circle, I'm in this place where I don't know what's next for me. Like, I don't know where my outward being of service is going to look like. And I am so deeply okay with that. Like, I'm in this full phase of like, I have lessons to learn in being fully present. I have masks to still shed that want people to not see these parts of me. And that's okay. And I can do that with joy right now. And I can trust that this is all going to come, that I've lived this golden thread that has all these beautiful accomplishments. Like none of this surrender means that I don't get to be like so proud of all I have done, of the multiple businesses I've built, of the lives I've changed. Like, that's okay. And I get to show up for myself, and I get to show up for my kids in a way, and in a way of joy I don't know if I've ever actually accessed before. And what's really amazing about that is, as I've made this commitment and as I've like leaned in, my financial worries haven't totally gone away, but I've had someone show up to ask me, would I be up to do some high ticket sales for them? And all I have to do is show up to calls that are already booked for somebody I actually believe in. And I was like, that sounds great. Like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be inspirational. I just have to like see if somebody's a good fit and be honest and real with them and move them through the process. Amazing. Let's do this. Like, beautiful. I have had a friend of ours show up and say, like, I'm really called to collaborate. Would you be interested in that? And I don't have to be the one to go build and create and sell and do all the things. Like, that's not where my being is at right now. And to fully embrace that, oh my God, it's freedom. It's freedom.
Wow, I love this.
That was a lot. I did that.
This is so amazing. And what I love is everyone who comes on, the stories are so different, but I have seen a thread of this surrender over the last couple of weeks with different guests that I've had on. Some have already been already live, and some will come after you. But the thread of the surrender, and even my own journey and my own story of how this movement was born, was through that as well. And for me, it's just something so much bigger than all of us. And you know, this whole change in humanity as a whole, and how we're just shifting into these new paradigms and saying, you know what, we don't want to do it like this anymore. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like, please don't make me go out and sell my soul anymore. I don't want to do that. Like,
yeah.
I'm good with that. Thank you. Can we please find another way? And it's scary. Like, we still live in a capitalist world and we still have to function in it. And so finding that place of surrender that isn't like totally gonna put you on the street, which we see a lot of people are, like, it's scary.
It is.
And how to navigate that, like, I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. Maybe I will, but honestly, I don't think I ever truly will.
I mean, my personal take on that is I don't think any of us do, because that's the whole point of a surrender. Like, we can't. That's still us trying to control it. You know, we have to really trust, and it is scary. You know, I went through it myself not so long ago, and it is scary, but like you said, Jamie, it's also the most liberating and the most
Mhm.
freeing and the most fulfilling experience. I mean, in my life, I don't know if you would agree in yours, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that this is surrender. I think this is true surrender. What I'm experiencing, what I think you've experienced in watching some of your journey. To me, this is, and there'll probably be more. I mean, I'm not even 40 yet. I'm close to 40, but I'm not 40 yet. I got some more months left. um, but and I'm sure there's another layer of
Oh
surrender
yeah,
that will be coming for me later in life. I fully expect that that's true.
absolutely.
And this is the truest version of surrender I've ever experienced because I am actually embracing and letting go of like the identities in a deeper way than I ever have before.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's taken all the work that I did before this to
Yeah.
get here for sure. And we'll be continuously pulling the onion back the rest of our life. Like it's a spiral. We will come back to the same pattern with just a new layer of it and a new learning and a new growth. And that's so beautiful because we are all teachers. Like every single human on this earth is a teacher of some kind. And to believe that, I like to believe you are special, you are totally unique, you are totally amazing, and so is everyone else.
Absolutely.
You are not more special than the next person walking down the street or the person that is sleeping on the sidewalk here in New York City. They have a lesson for any one of us as well. We all have our own special, unique, amazing thing to bring to the earth. And I think part of this experience of surrender that I'm leaning into and learning is understanding where I have needed to feel better than in order to feel validated, in order to feel like I'm important and worthy, like and and where I can actually see that and not shame it, but say, okay, I see it. I see you wanting to be worthy in me. And remember you are special and you are unique and you're not more special than anyone else. And that is beautiful too.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on the other, on the other token of that, no one else is more special than you. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
we're all like you said, we're all the same. And that's again goes back to this movement, right? We're all the same. This is
Mm.
just I just love all of it so much. Like I resonate so much with everything that you said, everything that you're experiencing. I feel like we're very, very akin spirits with that whole
Mm.
journey.
Love
And
that.
thank you so, so much, Jamie, for braving the stage and daring to share very vulnerably and honestly and openly with us all today. Can you please tell everyone where they can find you? Obviously, I know you're in this space at the moment, but whatever's going on for you, please let everyone know.
Yeah, for sure. So probably the best place is Instagram or on Facebook. Both handles are at Jamie Ella O'Connor. And that's a Jamie, Jaime, like Jaime, if you speak Spanish. So Jamie Ella O'Connor. So both of those places are really good places to follow me and talk to me. I have been limiting my app time quite a bit because of like limiting intake, but I do get on there at least once or twice a day. And I'm posting a lot of kind of my vulnerability and the things that are happening there. And if I do decide that there's something that I want to be sharing in a way that could go deeper, those are probably the places that I will. Um, do that. And I do have a podcast. I haven't put anything up in a while. I do have a few episodes that need to go live. It's called Inspired Focus Podcast. So that's probably going to be a place that when and if I feel like the calling to be sharing more deeply, that's probably where I'll be doing it. So that would be another place to check out.
Love that. All of those links will be in the show notes below, so don't panic. If you're multitasking at the moment, you can come back, click on those, and go and get in Jamie's world. And obviously, you could be watching it years from when we recorded this, so go and head over there and see what he's up to now. Jamie, thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on the challenge today. This is really, truly an incredibly powerful story. I love this share so much.
Thank you.
For you guys watching, thank you for joining us. Be sure to share this with someone who needs to hear this story, to know that they're not alone, to know that it's okay to experience the uncertainty of what your next step is. And actually that can be the catalyst to what it is that you're actually searching for. Jamie, thank you so much. And
thank you for holding this space. I wanted to say thank you for like putting this out there and allowing a space for so many leaders to feel safe enough to share. So yeah.
You're most welcome. Thank you. And I will see you in the next Dare to Share. Bye for now.